Sitting by the Fire, a podcast on ancestral wisdom, medicine, heritage, and transformation by Anna Hoffmann. Hello, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on when you're watching us. This is the next episode of Sitting by the Fire, and today my guest is my dear colleague Anna Hoffmann from Germany and Berlin, if I remember well. And I'd like to ask you, Anna, to present yourself. Who are you today? Because I know you've come from a long way to be here today.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I did grow up in Berlin, in West Berlin, and now I'm by the Havel River in a small village near Berlin. And today, I'm just someone who grew up without any context for the ancestors and the spirit world and being intimately connected to the land and who has changed a lot over the decades and especially over the last few years, really. And because I learned so much about being part of the magical web of life within a few years as an adult, anyone can. And part of why I'm sitting here today with you is to bring a bit of encouragement and hope because times are rough, and I want to give back in a way because after learning to trust that my old, ancient, kind ancestors are here, loving me, holding me, and learning how life-changing it is to let the land hold me and guide me. You know, I'm able to show up in a way that I couldn't before. And this is what is needed so much, that we are able, each one of us, to step into our power. We were born with that. And then terrible things happened in many cases just because of this world we inhabit here in Central Europe. And we can find our way back to the power that flows through us, and our ancient ones, they really want us to be in dignity and to be full of love. They want us to thrive so we can face all the horrors that are happening. That's who I am.
Aww, it touches my heart as you say that. I really feel that power surge of the land holding us and the ancient ones like supporting. How someone who has grown up in completely different surroundings without connection to the invisible world or the ancient ones finds her path to that. What was I know it could be different steps. Just from my own example, it's not just one step, but maybe we do like, okay, here we go there and there. So there are different stepping stones or arrows that this way, or just life pulling you to certain directions at the end. But what would you say, what was the turning point for you, if there is any, that you said, oh, there is a word out there and they want me?
So my way in was sexuality.
Okay.
Because all over my adult life, I spent so much time being curious and exploring not just my own sexuality, but like sexuality as an
Yeah.
art and as a culture. And as a queer person, um, I think some of that was really easy because all of us have to question our sexuality and our gender expressions in a way that some straight people don't have to. Um, so I'm really blessed with my queer identity, and um, more and more people, friends, lovers pointed me towards more spiritual approaches to sexuality, and I was very opposed.
Oh, wow. That's so great.
Yeah, I was a really different person when I was younger. Because growing up in Germany, I had learned from my family, but also from my queer leftist scenes, that spirituality is tied to fascism, and we don't do that.
Ah,
It's
yeah, I hear you.
so, so sad to be so disconnected um, because of the terrible things that the Nazis and fascists did in Germany using spirituality and using ancient magic and ancient powers. So having a very clear boundary with that is fine. But, you know, disentangling ourselves from all the goodness, it's sad. It's sad. So, but that's who I was.
Yeah,
So I went to a queer sex festival in England, and it was so much easier for me there
yeah.
to attend workshops and find teachers and to in very, slow ways connect to the spirit world and to the unseen in the context of sexuality. That worked, and that was a big turning point. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Anna. I find it super interesting because, I don't know, I'm a straight woman, and it's like sometimes when you are not a queer person, you're like, oh, don't talk about sexuality. But there's like, excuse me, there's like life energy. So we have been born from sexuality. We've been born from passion and love and whatnot. So there's like, it is at the core of life energy and being in this body, and it's beautiful. And I love to hear how, from you, how spirituality is actually there and entangled, and it absolutely is. It's just sometimes in the mind it doesn't fit that, oh, we can go that pathway. So I love that. And as you say that it was easier in England, I
Mhm.
remember my first trip to England. I think I was, I don't know, around 20 something, so quite young. And then I had this experience that the plane landed, and I'm from Hungary. So it was like someone has taken off like a heavy thing from my head. And it was like, huh? What happens here? That's not pressing down. It's not there like it was in Hungary. So I
Mhm.
think it's the land has different energies in different places. Absolutely.
Yes, yes, and obviously, um, England is not, a pure place in any ways, and colonialism and what so many terrible things happened
Yeah.
from, like, originating from English soil, and yet I can totally relate what you say when sometimes the land is greeting us in a way that is so different from what we are used to. And then it's like, woo, I can be a bit of a different person here.
Exactly, exactly.
Heavy weight that is connected to my ancestry and is in the soil, is in the earth. The grief is happening, and we know it intimately. And back then, I didn't have a framework for that, but still, I could feel it. Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's sweet to learn that and to be able to then go back and tend to the land
Mm,
that we know intimately, and to acknowledge the grief and acknowledge the horror that happened and be part of the web of life. Um, Composting.
Yes, yes. And I love that you say that you feel it, because I think when we are crammed in our little houses in the city, that's like some of our sensory system is cut off. So when you say that it is something that we can feel, just as you started, I want to repeat it. It's available for everyone. We can feel it. We actually have this sensibility. And if I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I am, you're also working with some somatic approaches. Mm.
Oh,
How does the unseen and ancestral medicine maybe or intertwined with that? So how do you see it with the body work and ancestral healing or the land standing?
So many of us, including me, have a hard time to even feel our bodies. You know, for me, that was a long journey to get there. And so many of us, I mean, it's there is wisdom in numbness. There's wisdom in not feeling much, and our bodies reacted to something terrible that happened, and so it's not at all about right or wrong or good or bad in any way. And slowly, really slowly learning to feel our bodies, to let our emotions flow and to be guided by the wisdom of our emotions. That is something to, I believe that is worth, putting effort into. Because for me, that is necessary to become bit by bit more intimate with the ancestors and with the land. And, the ancestors are the land. The land is made up of the bones of our ancestors too. Many other things too, but
Yes. I feel like
yeah.
it's like we could name the bodies like the extended part of the earth. Like when we tend our bodies with goodness and openness and curiosity and wanting to come back to it, it's like, I don't know. That's my idea now, that we come back in a way, that piece of earth that's in a
Yes.
way embodied in our
Yeah,
bodies.
absolutely. We are earthlings, like any rock, like any willow tree, like any goat. We are earthlings. And um, you asked me about how connecting to the spirits and to the ancestors, it is tied in with somatic work. And my experience over the years is that finding trust and feeling our bodies again is so much easier when we learn that together with beings that aren't as complicated as humans. Like
Yes.
everyone has a place, maybe by a lake or in a city park, by a tree, um, where we can settle and relax a bit. And it's so much easier to trust that oak tree and to lean to that bigness of a tree and be held by a tree. It's for most of us that isn't as difficult as learning to trust humans again. So the my big teachers aren't just living humans, although I've had amazing teachers, but it's the elements, it's the trees, it's the rivers who show up for me and my clients when we do this vulnerable thing of learning to trust our own bodies again. And in extension, learning to trust the earth again. So it's very, very, very interwoven. And those clients who are like, okay, this weird ancestral thing that you're doing, maybe we can try that too. That's always such a turning point when people, yeah, agree to learning how to be a grandchild who's truly loved by wild, cool, amazing elders who are not random amazing elders. They are in our bones. They know us so intimately and they care so much and they want to help and they know how to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Oh
yes,
my
it's all
God,
very,
that's so
very
such a beautiful way to say it. Thank you.
mm,
Because, I think many of us, I mean, it's true for me, and I know that it's true for my mother, and maybe for you and for other people watching us as well, that we don't even get to be the children sometimes.
mhm. Oh, yeah.
So we can call, like in psychology, the parentification and other things that happen. And it's difficult to even, in systemic psychology, come back and be the child in the system. So I think if someone is with a story like this and connecting with the ancestors, there's like, whoa, I I need to learn that I can lean back, that I'm not needed to be in charge. All I need to do is really to look for that connection and show up and then allow myself to be guided. And sometimes it's very difficult when you've been coming from, okay, I have to do this and that, and this is what life is about, and so on. So I think that it's like opening the perspective to some very different way of living in that sense.
Yes, yes, exactly. And I want to say it again. This is available for anyone. Like,
Yeah,
I not grow up with that in any way. And people who were not conceived in loving, you know, happy circumstances are totally welcome. Because that's because we mentioned sexuality earlier, that's why I want to say that not everyone um, um, had an easy way into the world even before pregnancy.
exactly. Sometimes being conceived is already through an act of harm. So it's also important to mention.
And the ancient ones, the wise ones, can bring so much relief, and they can bring so much gentle, gentle, gentle care just in the amount we can take. Because I certainly was not able to let them love me in a way that I can now. They were very gentle and titrated with me.
Yeah, exactly. Titrated. That's one of the clues, and gentleness as well, as you say, and that we somehow can grow when we are tended also. So it's not like we tend, but it also reciprocal in that way that we learn to accept a different way of relationship and being tended, I think, in that. So it's like growing when, or when you go to the gym and you learn how to lift weight, and from months to months you can maybe lift more weight because your skeleton and your body is getting accustomed and so on. So I think it's the same in here. What would you think, Anna, would be like a good starting point to someone who's here with us and says, okay, so you say that's for everyone. Okay, I may try. What would be a good first approach to
Mm.
start to relate?
I think um, it's important to figure out what kind of guidance do I need? in our network of practitioners, there is such an amazing diversity of people with, so many different backgrounds and languages and cultures and approaches. So for some, it's really important to ask a woman um, to help get in contact with your own people. For others, queerness is important, or someone who's Black, or someone who is Black and from Turtle Island, whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Yes, exactly.
And for some, that is not the right thing. It's better to join an online course and to learn this collectively, or to read Daniel's book. Take yourself seriously with what you need, what kind of learning is good for you. And also, um, it might be helpful to remember that being in contact with the ancient ones is something really, really, really normal. It isn't something that only special people get to do, or that you have to change your whole life, or that you have to become the most spiritual person all of a sudden. All over the world, people are just accepting the guidance of the dead who are well and healed and loving and kind. And talking about Europe, because that's where you and I are right now, that was exactly the same here. We just forgot. And it's amazing to experience what it's like when we call out again, and when we learn this really simple thing of saying, please help me.
Please.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's simple, and it's not that simple.
Exactly. Exactly. As you say, it's simple and it's not that simple. But just as you started in the beginning, it's so needed. And I think the earth needs us to stand up for her, really, in our best possible form, and our best possible form and person. That's the extension of all those people who came before us. So I think it's really important that maybe we look into that. So I do hope that there is curiosity in whoever is watching us. And what would be, because in this podcast, we're very framed by time. Sometimes that happens as well. What would be a last thing, Anna, that you say that, I still would like to add this to whoever is watching us?
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to add the collective piece.
Yes.
Um,
Mhm.
As a somatic practitioner, as an ancestral medicine practitioner, um, for me, it's not just a concept, but a lived experience. We can only do this together. We can only heal collectively. And for so many of us, doing something together with other people is where the wound is, because whatever terrible happened was with other people. Um, so um, showing up not just for our own personal healing, but for our groups, for our collectives, for our families, for our political movements, for our gardening group, for our village, whatever it is, whatever framework we find ourselves in, with the really, really hard things that are already here and that are coming, that we can watch on the news 24 hours a day, we need to prepare. I am certain that it's not going to get any easier anytime soon. And learning to be able to be in groups, to do collective work of any kind, being able to be in conflict and then repair again together, instead of buying into this thing of throwing people out and
Yes.
making them not relevant. We're part of that system that we want to overcome. So in order to learn how to do this collective thriving for humanity and for the earth and for all beings, it's fine. It's really good to lean back and get super powerful support. I don't think we can do it without our ancestors. They are very, very wise. And this is not the first time that humanity is fucking up on such a big scale. This is not the first time that humans are creating a lot of terror and harm.
Yeah.
It's necessary. It's really necessary to be humble and to ask the ones who have done this before and who are so
Yeah.
invested to support us.
And to do it in the collective as well, also including the living ones, and knowing and learning that it's okay to be in conflict and reparation is available. We can do it together. Thank you, Anna. It was a joy to welcome you here. We may come back in a later moment for spending more time together. I really like the topics that we touched. And I hope there was something that you liked. We're coming back every month in full moon. And thank you. Good to
Thank you
see
so
you.
much, Anna. Thank you, Anna. Thank you and your people.
Thank you, Anna, and your people. Blessings, everyone. Have a beautiful time. Bye.
Bye bye.